The soft hum of the airport terminal wrapped around Emily like a familiar blanket. It was early morning at JFK, the kind of hour where the world felt half asleep, with coffee scents drifting from nearby stands and muffled announcements echoing overhead. Emily Carter, a woman in her mid-40s with tired eyes and a simple backpack slung over one shoulder, shuffled through the security line. She wore jeans, a plain gray sweater, and comfortable sneakers, and nothing that screamed anything but ordinary tourist. Her ticket read Flight 482 to London, Seat 22C, aisle side. She had booked it on a whim, needing to escape the quiet emptiness of her apartment back in Chicago. Emily's life had been a whirlwind of routines until recently. A divorce after 20 years of marriage left her feeling unmoored, like a boat drifting without an anchor. The kids were grown, Sarah in college, Mike starting his first yoga, and the house felt too big, too silent. She craved distance, a chance to breathe without the weight of memories pressing down. London seemed perfect: museums, rainy walks, anonymous crowds. No one knew her there. She boarded the plane with a polite nod to the flight attendant, stowing her bag overhead and settling into 22C. The seat was worn but comfortable, the window beside her showing the gray tarmac dotted with rain puddles. As passengers filed in, Emily watched them with quiet curiosity. A family with two young kids argued softly about who got the window. An older couple held hands, whispering plans for their vacation. Next to her in 22B sat a businessman, already typing furiously on his laptop. And in 22A, by the window, a young woman with headphones scrolled through her phone. The cabin filled with the rustle of bags and murmured conversations, a gentle buzz that lulled Emily into a sense of normalcy. She pulled out a paperback novel, something light about far-off adventures, and let her mind wander. The plane taxied slowly, the engines building to a low roar. Emily felt the familiar tug as they lifted off, New York shrinking below into a patchwork of lights and shadows. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. This was her reset, her chance to figure out who she was without the labels of wife or mother. But as the flight leveled out over the Atlantic, a subtle unease crept in. It started with her phone, a secure device she carried out of habit, even on vacation. It vibrated once, then twice, in her pocket. She ignored it at first, assuming it was a spam call or a wrong number. But when it buzzed a third time, she fished it out, glancing at the screen. The number was unfamiliar, but the prefix caught her eye: a government issue. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't told anyone about this trip, not even her ex-husband. Who could be calling? She pressed the phone to her ear, keeping her voice low. "Hello, ma'am. This is Control. We have a situation." The voice on the other end was clipped, professional. Emily froze. Control. That word yanked her back to a life she thought she'd left behind for these few days. Years ago, before marriage and kids, Emily had served in the Air Force as a communications specialist. Her call sign, Echo 9, was from those days assigned during operations where quick, coded responses meant everything. She hadn't used it in over a decade, not since transitioning to civilian life. But old habits die hard. She kept the secure line active, just in case. "What's going on?" she whispered, glancing around. The businessman beside her was absorbed in his work, oblivious. "We've detected anomalous activity on your flight path. Possible interference. Need confirmation of your status." Call sign? Emily hesitated. This couldn't be real. She was just a tourist now. Seat 22C, heading to see Big Ben and sip tea. But the training kicked in, automatic and unyielding. "Echo 9, she replied softly, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. There was a pause on the line, then a series of clicks. "Confirmed. Stand by." The line went dead. Emily stared at her phone, her mind racing. Anomalous activity? On a commercial flight? She tried to shake it off, telling herself it was a drill or a mistake. But deep down, she knew better. The Air Force didn't make casual calls. She leaned back, closing her eyes again, willing her pulse to slow. The cabin lights dimmed for the overnight flight, and a flight attendant pushed a car down the aisle, offering drinks. Emily asked for water, sipping it slowly, the cool liquid grounding her. Hours passed in a haze. The plane droned on, the ocean below a vast, dark expanse. Emily dozed fitfully, her dreams fragmented with memories of briefings and radar screens. She woke to the soft ping of the seatbelt sign, the captain's voice crackling over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some minor turbulence. Please remain seated." But it wasn't turbulence that worried her. Her phone buzzed again, this time with the text, "Echo 9, prepare for escort. Priority Alpha." Escort? Emily's breath caught. She peered out the window, but saw only clouds and stars. The relatable problem she'd carried on to the plane, her loneliness, her search for peace, now felt trivial against this unfolding mystery. What had she stumbled into? Or rather, what had found her? She thought of her kids, safe back home, unaware. A wave of protectiveness washed over her, mixed with regret for not calling them before takeoff. The young woman in 22A noticed Emily's tension. "You okay?" she asked, pulling out one headphone. Her name tag, half visible on her bag, read Leela. Emily forced a smile. "Just a bit airsick, nothing major." Leela nodded sympathetically. "First time flying overseas?" "Something like that," Emily replied, her voice calm but distant. Inside, questions swirled. Why her? Why now? She recalled her last mission, years ago, involving encrypted signals over the Atlantic. Could it be connected? The plane jolted slightly, a real turbulence this time, Ia and passengers murmured. Emily gripped her armrest, focusing on her breathing. In, out, slow and steady. Then, the gentle twist began. The captain's voice returned, this time with a hint of unease. "Folks, we've received instructions from air traffic control. We're being rerouted slightly for safety. Nothing to worry about." But Emily knew. She glanced at her phone again. Another message, "Escort inbound. Air Force One protocol engaged." Air Force One? The president's plane? Her mind reeled. Echo 9 wasn't just any call signal, it was tied to high-level clearances, ones she thought were archived. Apparently, not. She stood quietly, excusing herself to the businessman, and made her way to the back of the plane, where a flight attendant was preparing snacks. "Excuse me," Emily said softly, "I need to speak to the captain. It's urgent." The attendant, a kind-faced man named Tom, raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, we're in flight." "Unless it's an emergency." "It is," she interrupted, her tone firm but gentle. She showed him her Ida, a relic from her service days, tucked in her wallet. Tom's eyes widened as he read it. "One moment," he said, disappearing toward the cockpit. Emily waited, leaning against the galley wall. The plane hummed around her, passengers oblivious, watching movies or sleeping. She felt a pang of envy for their ignorance. Back in her seat, Leela chatted with the businessman about London sights, their voices a soothing backdrop. Emily returned moments later, Tom following discreetly. "The captain's been briefed," he whispered. "We're coordinating." Emily nodded, settling back into 22C. Outside, the sky was lightening with dawn. Then, she saw two faint shapes on the horizon, growing closer. Fighter jets, sleek and purposeful, flanking the plane. Gasps rippled through the cabin as passengers noticed. "What the hell?" the businessman muttered, pressing his face to the window. The captain addressed them again. "Ladies and gentlemen, for your safety, we've been joined by military escort. Remain calm, this is precautionary." Emily's phone rang once more. "Echo 9, this is Control. Intel confirms a cyber threat targeted your flight. Your call sign triggered our alert system. Old protocols, but active. Air Force One is in the vicinity, returning from Europe. They've authorized the escort to ensure safe passage." Emily swallowed hard. A cyber threat? Hackers, perhaps, probing for vulnerabilities. Her presence, with that lingering clearance, had flagged the system. She wasn't just a tourist, she was a ghost from the past, pulling strings she didn't know still existed. The jets drew nearer, their wings tipping in salute. The sight was awe-inspiring, cutting through the clouds like guardians. Passengers snapped photos, whispering excitedly. For Emily, it was a mix of fear and nostalgia. She thought of her service days, the camaraderie, the purpose. It had shaped her, even if she'd set it aside for family. As the flight continued under watchful eyes, Emily shared bits of her story with Leela and the businessman, whose name was David. Not the classified parts, but the human ones. Her divorce, her need for escape. They listened, offering kind words. "Sounds like you needed this trip," Leela said gently. Even with this, Emily smiled faintly. Yeah, life has a way of surprising you. The escort lasted an hour, the jets peeling away as they approached European airspace, threat neutralized through ground efforts. The captain announced all clear, and applause broke out. Emily felt a weight lift, but also a quiet shift inside. She wasn't just drifting anymore, she had roots, connections that endured. Landing in London was smooth, the runway glistening under morning sun. As passengers deplaned, Emily lingered, thanking Tom and the crew. Outside, she breathed in the crisp air, her backpack light on her shoulder. In the days that followed, Emily wandered London's streets, visiting quiet parks and cozy cafes. She called her kids, sharing laughs and updates amidst the drama. For now, the experience grounded her, reminding her that life's twists, gentle or not, could lead to clarity. She wasn't alone. Echoes of her past strengthened her present. Back home weeks later, Emily unpacked, placing a small Big Ben model on her shelf. She felt whole, ready for whatever came next. The flight in 22C had been more than escape, it was a bridge, connecting who she was to who she could be, and in that, she found peace.